Well, almost 500,000 British pensioners are trapped on frozen state pensions as low as £22 per week because of where they have chosen to live in the world.
Yes, a group of them are taking their grievance to Westminster today, highlighting what they say is a cruel system. Let's speak to our national reporter, Ellie Costello, who is there for us this morning. Ellie, it's not a small number of people, around 500,000.
Yes, exactly. Good morning, Isabel and Martin. And this is a small delegation today that is representing 500,000 people. They're protesting in Westminster today about pensions that are frozen in time. Now, if you've lived and worked in this country and you've paid your national insurance contributions, then you will expect a state pension. But what many people may not realise is if you then move to a country that doesn't have an uprating agreement with the UK, then your pension will never rise with inflation. So in real terms, what we've seen in the past few weeks is pensions here in the UK will rise by 10% to help with inflation. But if you are living in 150 countries around the world that doesn't have an uprating agreement, your pension will not rise in line with inflation. It is frozen in time. It does mean some pensioners around the world who have lived and worked in Britain are on as little as £25 a week. Well, we can speak now to John Duffy, who's chairman of the International Consortium of British Pensioners. Now, he lives in Antigua now. It's very nice for you, isn't it, John? But you're originally from Brighton. So tell us about this small delegation today and what you're here to do.
Well, there are 5 of us here who come from Canada, Australia and myself from the Caribbean. And we actually are here to represent those frozen pensioners. We're not particularly here to represent ourselves, although we are people who do suffer from the same effect of having a reduced pension, because we think that it is discriminatory, it is grossly unfair. We have all paid the same amount of money into it, and we should be entitled to get the same amount back out again. But the government, and this has applied to all governments, continuously say that it's a policy that they have had for 70 years and they have no intention of changing it. Now, we could say that about slavery, homosexuality, hanging. That is not a good excuse. We are discriminated against, we have people suffering, we have people who are below the poverty line, all because the government is too mean to pay them the money that they are owed. Sorry.
And that's all right, John. And just very briefly, because we are running out of time, tell me about some of the discrepancies, because it does completely depend, doesn't it, geographically on where you are in the world, about how much you earn.
Yes, it does. I mean, the big countries are Australia and Canada, where they are the majority of frozen pensioners are. But if you lived over the border in the US, you'd get your pension paid. If you live in Europe, you'd get your pension uprated. If you live in the Philippines or Israel, but most of the Commonwealth countries are not. I mean, I live in Antigua, but Jamaica and Barbados, you get your pension uprated. And the whole thing is just totally unfair. Now, I have somebody in Antigua, she's a lady who worked in the UK. She was a Windrush emigre. She worked in the UK for 39 years. She gets a pension frozen now because she went back to Antigua to look after her dying mother. Her sister, who stayed in the UK, gets a full pension that's about double her frozen pension that she gets in Antigua. It's an absolutely crazy system.
And that's exactly what you want to highlight today. Well, John Duffy, really good to speak to you this morning. Thank you so much for your time. Well, as you just heard there from John, this affects 500,000 expats, war veterans, those from the Windrush generation that came to work in this country after the Second World War, who are now living, some of them, on as little as £25 a week. And John, alongside 5 others, have flown specifically to Britain in a small delegation. They're going to hand a letter into the Department of Work and Pensions later to raise awareness of the situation and hopefully bring about change.
Good stuff, Ellie. Thanks very much indeed. And look, if perhaps you are one of those 500,000 people watching, because we have so many GB News viewers and listeners around the world that this affects, get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you and what you hope this delegation will achieve and whether you're actually all that hopeful or not in the current climate.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, get in touch, please.